Podcast. I am your host, Ken Joslin, and I have got an incredibly special treat for you today. My new friend, Frederick Penny, his brand new book, helped by Mark Victor Hansen, the author for Chicken Soup of the Soul. It is a book literally from picking peaches to flying private jets. They've got 46 locations, attorney locations across the country. He's built an unbelievable empire. Frederick, how you doing, my friend?
Good. It was great to be here with you, man. I'm excited to get to know you better. This is what's fun about it, right? Is getting to know good people. Man. I'm excited to get to know you better.
It's crazy. We were talking off air just a while ago about my mastermind. And the majority of the people that are in my mastermind are guys that I met or ladies that I met doing a podcast with a year ago, 2 years ago. That's exactly Greg Reed is how I met Greg. It's how I met Sharon Lecter. A lot of the common friends that we have. Frederick, take just a minute and tell our audience real quick about what you're doing, where you're at, and kind of, man, what it's taken you to get where you're at right now.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate you having me on. You know, I started in a small little town that I grew up with, 650 population, really just a small farm town and just a country boy, right? Just with not huge ambitions, but ambitions to succeed. And I tell the story about I started picking peaches when I was 14 years old. And we didn't have a lot of money. In fact, my controller and my in-house tax accountant, I have an in-house tax accountant and controller, lived in a single wide trailer near me. He was my friend in fourth grade. Wow. And he still now is my tax accountant and my controller. And so we talk about growing up with nothing. And as we grew up with nothing, we were happy people. But you know what? We wanted to succeed in life. Right? We still had big dreams, just like the big city people, right? Mm-hmm. And we always said to ourselves, someday we're going to make something of ourselves. But while I was picking peaches, right? And then I not only pick peaches, I used to pick zucchini squash. Have you ever picked zucchini squash? It cuts your hands because it has those little spikes on it. That's what I did until, my teenage years. And I remember approximately when I was 14, 15 years old, freshman, sophomore in high school, in a country school out where a lot of farm. In fact, we used to have what's called Aggies that used to grow up in our school. And my grandma said, and she was a phenomenal businesswoman in the 30s and 40s. She ran one of the first supermarkets out of Pasadena, California, called Davis Market. And she was living near us. And she said, Freddie, she calls, only one that calls me Freddie. Frederick was everybody else, or Fred to the close friends. She said, Freddie, did you win the game? I said, no, I lost. She goes, oh, why did you lose? I said, well, they scored more points. We're better than us. She goes, well, why were they better than you? Why'd they score more points? I said, because they were quicker. Well, why are they quicker? She would never let me give an excuse. And so that drove me nuts. And she finally stopped me and said something to the effect that, Freddie, I remember these words, Freddie, you can do anything you want in this world. If you want to be the president of the United States, just go do it. The only one stopping you is you. And that's the mantra that started me early in life, is I can do anything I want to do. I can dream as big as I want. And no matter what I do, it's not going to stop me. And you know what? No excuses, Ken. No excuses. And that's the way I was taught early on. So as I went through law school, undergrad school, the teachers that I grew up with in the small town laughed and came to my mom and said,
so let me stop you really quick. At what point growing up, listening to your family say you can do whatever you want, you can do anything, you don't make excuses, you can do anything but make excuses. At what point growing up did you go, man, I want to be an attorney. I want to be something different than what I see inside of my family? Like, was there an aha moment or a moment that you remember that you were just like, no, I was made for more than what I'm doing?
Yeah, the answer is, I'm not going to say there was never one, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer aha moment, but there was a little joke moment. I don't know if my dad did it. He was a police officer and a farmer. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom with 4 boys. And we had very little. And he said something to the effect one day, I always say something to the effect, why do you say that? Well, I'm an attorney. I always say things like that. But he said, son, all I know is at the end of the day, everybody's laying on the ground. There's one person standing there holding the money. That's the lawyer. You're going to law school. I'm like, Dad, no, I'm not. I want to be a farmer and a rancher. And he said, no, you can buy a farm and a ranch when you become a lawyer. So that's kind of, what started it. And so I moved on to college and law school. And it was a shocker to the teachers that I grew up in this small town. I even made it out of high school, let alone college and law school. But this is where it all started. I remember going to a big mega firm down in the Bay Area, San Francisco area. And I always say this, here's one of my mantras. I do not believe in failures. We do not fail in life. Those are experiences. People say, well, have you ever failed anything? No, I've never failed. I have never failed. I've just gained experiences. And so as this big mega firm, and I wanted a job there bad. And I think there's 3 or 4 of us that they interviewed, and then we worked there for the summer. And I remember them sitting us down and saying, we're going to take you 3 and Fred, not you. What a blow. Out of 4 people, I was the loser. And so to me, I think, well, but I saw it as a positive. Okay, where one door closes, it opens. I didn't see it as a failure. Some people would be upset. Just think, Ken, if I would have done that, I would have still be working with that firm and not started my law practice 30 years ago, where I started this little practice and then built it, hit verdicts. I'm a trial lawyer, and then got on television and then started hiring the top trial lawyers from the insurance industry. Now it's just built to a big firm, a really successful California firm, Penny and Associates, then to a national firm, Penny Galbraith Elder Brandon. So let me take you back of how that happened. The most important thing I've learned in life as I've grown the firm is as I built my practice, money started coming in, right? That's what happens, Ken. You start making money. And I believe we're all on a rung somewhere on the ladder. And it doesn't matter where you are on that rung, it's still the same principle. And these 3 important words I always say are the most important words that I've learned to be successful in business. 3 words. If you understand these words, you're going to hit it. And the words are resist, resist, resist. If you understand those 3 words, the success ratio is really high. And everyone looks at me like, what? What do you mean by resist, resist, resist? Here's the story, a quick one. As I started making money, Ken, I lived in a small home, nothing fancy, 4 kids. I paid off my home, paid off my cars, and my buddies were getting Lamborghinis, Ferraris, big homes, mansions. I stayed in that house and I invested in companies, my own business. I started companies. I'm very entrepreneurial, and that's what I did. And everyone was, oh yeah, I get it. I can do that. No, ready? 10 years I did that. Wow. 10 years. That's phenomenal that I had to resist, resist, resist. So I built outside my law firm. I continued to build these law firms and then built other businesses on the side till the point is I can go build whatever house I want. I can drive what car. And as you know, from peaches to private jets, I fly a private jet now with my own pilots, fly me around to handle a lot of the business I have to handle, mainly the law firm business. So that's my mantra, resist, resist, resist. Even to this day, I still do it, right?
What do you think? I mean, because it's a different age now. I mean, you're 5 years older than I am. I graduated in 86. High school, I guess you probably graduated in 81. There was no 81. Cell phones. There was no Instagram. Now you have all these influencers, quote unquote, that are out running around with their Lambos and are out running around with this. And I do conferences and masterminds, and I'm like, tickets $10,000, or the mastermind for the year is 50. They're like, hey, can I break that up into 12 payments? I'm like, bro, you got a Lamborghini on your thing, and you've got a $2 million house. You're not liquid enough to pay $50,000 to be a part of a mastermind. What do you think is the cause of that's going? It's so prevalent, especially on social media and in our society today.
It's immediacy, Ken. Immediacy. Let me tell you why resist was easier for me. Because I'm no happier now than I was when I had no money. Ken, to me, immediacy is not my mantra. I truly think you can make money quick and do it the right way, but mine was the long-term grind. The grind was 30 years for me to build where I am. And I don't think everybody has to take 30 years. But it's okay to grind for a long time. And people with today's social media and the way things are, everything's got to be immediate. And so for me to grind for that long and continue to grind was easy for me because I was just as happy when I had nothing that I am now. My happiness is no difference other than family and friends, right? But my happiness is no difference. It just things. But the game is, I love the game, Ken. I love the game of building. Building practices, winning. That's what I love.
But where did that come from, Frederick? Because most people who grew up, I grew up poor, single family. You grew up picking peaches on a farm, picking zucchini. Where did that come from? Because most of the times, I know when I had my mortgage, I was a top mortgage broker in Georgia for about 8 years, back in 2001 to 2008, 2009, when the market crashed. I mean, dude, I didn't have anybody to tell me that. And I definitely was not like that. I wanted the car. I wanted the Breitling. I wanted the Rolex. I wanted this because I'd never seen or had anything like that before. Where did that come from in you?
I think people ask if it's built in you. I think to some degree it is, but not completely. I think you learn it also, but I think to some degree it's built how you are. I never forget my dad dragging us out to the country, and my mom, who's from Pasadena, LA area, just cried for 2 years dragging us up to the country. And she tells us that later on in life. She goes, you didn't know I cried for 2 years. But he knew it was good for us boys to be raised, to work hard. We took care of cows, dogs, chickens. We worked, we built fences, we built irrigation. And I think it's just the toughness of the way I grew up. And I thank my father for doing that, right? I thank him for being hard on me. By the way, my dad was a Marine and fought in Korean War, 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars. So he was very tough on us, and no excuses, right? Like I said, Ken.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays it's easy to make excuses that, oh, this person's offending me. This person, move on. And that's my mantra. People, oh, this person doesn't like you, Mr. Penny. Oh, okay. I don't blame them. I'm a lawyer. We sue people for a living. I get it. I don't like lawyers either sometimes, but you got to move on. You just can't worry about that. And I still, to this day, Ken, I get up off the ground all the time. Oh, you're successful, Fred. No, success is a journey, not a destination. Success to me is a verb. Throw the dang dictionary out. It says it's a noun in the dictionary. Cross it out. Go to your dictionary. I tell people when I speak, go to the dictionary, cross out the N word, the noun word, and put a V next to your dictionary, success, because it's a constant thing. And that's the way I see things. And that's the way I see life.
You said something just a minute ago about how much you enjoy building. Talk to me about fulfillment. And I mean, because it's not just your kingdom you're building, you're giving, you've got 46 locations or 46 states across, with offices across 46 states and offices all across California. You employ a lot of people. Talk about the building part and the fulfillment part, not because you've talked about how, the material items and the flash. I told you just a minute ago, I was on a phone with a legit billionaire friend of mine who worked for Warren Buffett for years and sold his businesses to Warren. And he told me on the phone the other day, he was talking about, he was with 2 of his friends, one of which was worth about $13 billion. And they had Garth Brooks and one of George Strait in to do a 3-song concert, paid him $1 million a piece to come in just for his friends at his house. And he said, I drove my Ford F-150 and I wore my Apple Watch. He said, because one of the things I've learned is wealth doesn't like flash. Rich people like flash. Wealth does not like flash. And that sounds like a trait that you've carried throughout your whole life. Talk about the fulfillment side of what you've done in building the practices and helping and developing leaders and being able to build what you built across the country.
Yeah, good. That's a good question and a good point. It's a fine line, Ken. It's a very fine line, because I'm a marketing person. I believe you need to market yourself. I believe you market your name. Ken, you market your name. I market my name. And so some people improperly see that as pushing wealth or pushing being arrogant. I see it as marketing. The tail of my jet has my name on it. Grant Cardone has his name on his jet.
Yes, he does.
And I will never forget the time I saw a guy on a little tiny, I think it was a Cessna 172 in an airport in Utah, had his little name on it. And I'm like, I'm proud of you. He goes, I'm trying to build my name in my practice. And he was a real estate person. And I said, good for you. Someday you'll have a G650ER, right?
Come on.
And that's what we do. So it's a fine line, Ken, is we don't want to be arrogant, but we want to help others. And I believe in helping others quietly. I'm a person that quietly does it. I don't want people to know. And that's kind of been my mantra of doing things on the side. But you naturally help people by employing people. But here's what I found in business is the most important thing when you're, quote, helping people. I love to find businesses that I invest in people. I think the biggest mistake in business is you invest in a business. You should never invest in a business. You invest in the people first, business second. And I can talk about a fast food restaurant chain that I invested in that had problems or issues with people other than a CEO president that was had no stock, but was phenomenal. And I knew that fast food restaurant chain would do well with that person at the helm without the stifling issues that were happening with ownership. And so you need to, and I've learned you find good people. And I don't care what they do for a living. If you put them, if they're good people, they're going to help you run a business and they're going to succeed. And that's, and when people go, well, how have you invested in all these companies on the side when you run multiple law firms? Guess what? My partner in Arizona, there's one person I work with, one lawyer. I don't know anybody else. And that's the person that I deal with. In the fast food restaurant chain that I deal with, there's one person. That's all I work with is one person. And you got to find those people that are good. And then they'll take even an average business and make it successful. Because Ken, you can take a great business that I've seen. If you have bad people running it, it's going to tank. So invest in people first, businesses second.
That's
been my mantra.
I love that. Maxwell, John always talks about, everything rises and falls with leadership. I used to tell people all the time, some of the best people that I hired in my mortgage company or in my real estate company were servers at restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say, and I always had cards with me. And I would say, man, you're phenomenal. Have you ever thought about doing real estate? Well, I don't really know. I don't care if you know real estate. I don't care if you know mortgages. I don't care if you know a 1003 from a 1008 to a RESPA. I don't care. You know how to take care of people and you have a passion and care for people. You can
nailed
be
it.
Ridiculous. That's it. So what would you say? And I know I just said a couple adjectives that describe people. When you're looking, Frederick, what are the things you're looking for? What are the things when you see them? What are some of the characteristics you go, boom, that person's got it?
Number one, hard worker. Number one, hard worker. I mean, everything else can be taught, right? Not completely, but in general, everything else can be taught. If they know how to work hard, then you've got 90% of it cut, right? Quick story. I love telling stories. Opening one of the new fast food restaurant chains. We can't open them fast enough. We're building them. We built a new one near Salt Lake City. And I flew in the jet, right? And I brought my wife with me. And I noticed it had been open like 3 months, 2 months. The weeds had grown up in the drive-through, and it's a beautiful building. And the drive-through was packed. I mean, drive all the way up, and it was doing really well. And the weeds were just crazy. And it was ugly. I couldn't believe it. So I called the CEO. I said, do you see the weeds here? He said, yes, but nobody wants to go out and pull them. We're too busy and no one will touch them. I said, you know what? I sat there for 2.5 hours in the hot sun and I pulled weeds.
Pulled the weeds.
and it didn't bother me. And you know what the best part about it was, Ken? Is to listen to people in the drive-through what they said. I heard a couple of people goes, dude, that sucks. Look at that guy's job. They have no idea
you own it
who I was, what I was doing.
Right.
And I have pictures of me I told him, you take pictures of me doing this. Because when it comes time to, running a business or there's issues coming up or someone complains, I said, I just got done pulling 2.5 hours worth of weeds out of a fast food restaurant chain that they had no idea who I was, right? And they did know, okay, this guy's going to come help. So obviously the manager knew someone was out there pulling weeds. But see, that's what you got to learn to do. You got to that's the type of person you want. Hard worker that will go pull the weeds. So I always say that. What kind of employee you want? I want a hard worker that'll pull weeds.
I love it.
I don't care who they are. Ken, you and I someday, we're going to go out and pull weeds together and we're just going to do it. We're going to take a picture. So when people complain or say, dude, I can't do it. Really? All right.
I love it. You've got a new book out.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. It's a series. It's called Goose. Are all three of them? Is that the title of the first book that you've got coming out?
All three Goose. There'll be Goose
all three Goose.
1, 2, 3.
From
Yep.
peaches to private jets. Walk us through kind of how that transpired. Like, what was the catalyst inside of you that said, dude, I want to write a book?
Well, it's and you know this wonderful person, Mark Victor Hansen, who is the New York Times bestselling author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Good friend of mine and a friend and a person a friend of yours. We just started talking about the book. You know, he wanted to, and we talked about doing a book on, you know, how to succeed. Right, Fred? You peaches to jets. You know, that is a great, you know, mantra and something that's going to teach people. That's a great title. And I kind of said to him and his staff, I said, you know what? I like that, but I'm a little uncomfortable. At times, some people will disagree about talking about myself and how I succeeded, right? So he said, we collaborated together and we all kind of got together and said, let's do it about William Collins. William Collins is a fictional character that embodies kind of what I learned and I've been taught in life. And what's interesting, I'm 59, and the first book starts at William Collins' 75th birthday. And so it's in the future. It's like Star Wars kind of. And that book talks about his life at 75 and his birthday and what he's accomplished, but it hints on how he never exactly tells you how he built it. But then book 2 rolls back to 5th grade when William Collins started out as a small country boy growing up the country, and how he was taught this foundation to become successful in all areas of life. And then book 3 rolls into how William Collins built this law firm out of California, and then other businesses from here on out. And that's the trilogy.
So you're 59 years old and you wrote the book when you were at 75.
Yeah, we wrote the book, but it's about him. So it's looking in the future, right?
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. What did you learn from your 75-year-old self?
I learned that I'm a lot older, but I learned one thing. I'll tell you right now, the 75. I don't want to tell the story, but let me throw a few things out there. I learned that I'm the same way that I am now, which is my comfort zone is on a swing underneath a peach tree. To this day, I live on acreage and I make some of the biggest decisions of my life, not in the boardroom, on that swing under that tree, or I have 2 swings under these trees. And that's where I relax. That's where I have my Zen, if you want to call it. And I commune there with God. I'm a very God-fearing person. And I believe that's what I see in the 75-year-old William Collins is he still remembers the peaches, the peach tree, the swing, and that's where the greatest decisions are made in his life.
You know, we talk a lot about what we do is help business leaders build confidence, gain clarity, and create community. And really what you just talked about, you know, said some of the biggest decisions weren't in the boardroom. They were in the swing under a peach tree. Where did the confidence come from? Frederick, how long did it take you? Because you've made some big time decisions. I mean, you've made some big time decisions, taken some risks over the last 30 years. Walk us through the development of Frederick Penny being able to be like, yes, this is the decision that I know I need to make. And then building that confidence in every decision that you make.
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that. I'll tell you right now, it's kind of a simple thing. You just can't be afraid of failure. And again, I don't believe in failure. That's the problem or issue with most people in business. They want it all in a nice box. They don't want to take risks. I take risks all the time. And it's okay to fall down. And I'm used to it. And I'm used to getting up. That's how I was taught as a young boy, as I brought up that story. I was taught that there's no excuse. Just get back up off the ground and keep moving. And there's no excuse. I am not scared of falling. I'm just not scared of falling.
And was that something you had from a young age, Frederick, or was it something you developed? I mean, was it? Tell me where that, because I think that I wrote it down. We don't fail. We just gain experiences. I'm gonna quote you after we get
good. You do that, yeah.
Where did that come from?
I think it's both. I think it's innate, but I don't think you have to have it in order to succeed in life. Again, it's a journey. But what I believe is I was taught at a young age to just keep getting off the ground. So I'm not scared, and I was taught that. Now, some people say, well, I didn't have the parents you had. Well, you're right, but you can find mentors. There's mentors out there that'll help mentor you, or people that you cling to. People you cling to are people that succeed and want to succeed, that don't have excuses. I just don't let any of my kids give me excuses. There is no excuse. My son, really quick, he's in trial right now, in a big high profile trial, because I have sons that are lawyers. And I looked at him, it was last night, and he was telling me how he doesn't see his family. They're working hard. They work 24/7 during trial. And he's got a whole lawyers with him, a top trial lawyer helping him, and that this one of my partners lead. And he's got 3 or 4 staff under him helping him. I turned to him, I said, son, think about the days when I did that and it was all by myself. I had you 4 kids, mom, the mortgage, and I did it all by myself. I had no help. See, that's what you have to, that's what it's about, right? It's about, no excuses. Just get in there and do it. That's part of life. And that's what I was taught at a young age. And to this day, I still have that drive to succeed. And it's a game. I don't want to stop. Why don't you retire? Why would you retire? It's a fun, exciting thrill for me. That's what I get off on. Other people get off on other things. I don't get off on going to Europe and vacation. That's not what I like. I like building businesses. That's what I like. Build a business, succeeding. It excites me.
I think you like building people.
Yeah.
I think you love building people, and obviously the business part you said earlier, find great leaders, build great leaders. Your book, tell me what your aspirations are for your book series. Like, what are you hoping the reader gets out of that? What would you say to them today?
So I was just at a conference in Atlanta that I spoke, and the first 3 things I said, will you tonight, it was tonight, dream big with me? And will you take those big dreams and make them a reality with me tonight? Well, guess what? I still, to this day, dream big, Ken.
Yeah.
And I still have aspirations like any other person, even if they're aspiring to make $1,000 this month. I have that. I want to be a New York Times bestseller. That's, that's still on my list. And I still have lists of things that I want to do in life. I want this book to be a New York Times bestseller, not because I want to stroke my ego or look good, but it's because it's a goal and it's something to try to achieve. You always need to have something out in front of you to achieve. You don't, otherwise, when you're in neutral, you're going backwards.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Exactly right. And so that's what I want to achieve with Goose, is push it out there. And I want people to see William Collins and learn from William Collins and apply it to their lives in a fictitious way, knowing that's how I kind of did it.
And your book was released this past Friday, correct?
Yep, just came out Friday, and on 5 or 6, my publisher just talked to me, 5 or 6 categories, #1 bestseller, new book, and in all kinds of categories, and trying to hit #1 for all the other USA Today, all the other mantras or areas. We're pushing it to, and I think it's going to hit. I think it's going to hit because the sales have been phenomenal.
Where can our audiences get a copy? What's the website?
Barnes and Noble and Amazon. That's the best way to get it.
Gotcha. Barnes and Noble. It's Goose by Frederick Penny.
Frederick Penny, and then you just type it in, it'll pop up.
Yeah, I love that. What's the best way for our audience to get and connect with you, Frederick?
The best way is and you and I are both the same way in this. I'm an Instagrammer. So Frederick, Frederick, Penny, Penney, and then the #1. I check daily my Instagram. I look at that Instagram. At 5 a.m. I'm one of those guys. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning, and I go to bed around 10 or 11. I don't sleep more than 6 or 7. I don't think you need more than 6 or 7 hours sleep. Yeah. That's me. And so I work. Everyone thinks, oh, how's life? I work probably harder than you guys. I always say that I work harder than you. No, you don't. Oh, yes, I do. And so I love to work. And so get me on, hit me up on Instagram, and that's how you'll find me.
I love that. Last words for our audience, group of entrepreneurs. Several thousand people are listening to this a week. Entrepreneurs trying to make it happen. And I love the resist up in the immediacy thing you said earlier. What would be your final word of wisdom you know, you're kind of not saying it's at the twilight of your career, but you've built something that most people look at what, you know, if they're in your shoes, are going, man, I've done well. What would your words of wisdom be to our audience today, Frederick?
The first thing that's important to know is, remember, Colonel Sanders failed a lot until his 60s. So I have people all the time that come up to me in their 60s and 70s. It's never too late, by the way, never too late to build. And it doesn't matter what age you are and where you are on the ladder. Just go forward the best you can. And I always say this: it's very important to dream big and never stop dreaming big. And it's okay to fall down. You never fail. You just gain experiences. That's, if you remember that. And again, resist, resist, resist. Freddie, this is the way I always end it. Freddie, you can be anything you want in this world. If you want to be the president of the United States, go be the president of the United States. The only one holding you back is you. Thank you, Grandma Davis.
I love that. I tell people all the time, I borrow Dave Ramsey's line: the person that you fight the most with is a guy you shave in the mirror with every morning. I mean, it really is you versus you. It's not you versus anyone else. Man, thank you so much for your time today, man. I can't wait for us to connect offline again and get some time together and spend some time together. Obviously, we've got some mutual friends, but I can't wait to connect you with some of the amazing human beings that I get to connect with and be a part of what you've got going on in your world.
Yeah, we'll have great things together, Ken, someday. We will. We'll be together.
Most definitely. Guys, thank you for joining us on the As a Leader Grows podcast. Again, I am your host, Ken Joslin. Listen, if this has been something that's added value, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe. If you'll snap a screenshot, put it on Instagram, tag me, I'll share it. I don't have near as many followers as Frederick does. I have about 30,000. He's got 1.2 million, but I'm sure we'll share it and help you build your audience as well. Again, thank you for joining us on the As a Leader Grows podcast.